In terms of Buddhism, Berry held forth suffering, dukkha, as expressed by the Buddha, as a key concept. It's a source of evil, and it also expresses this universal state of existential angst that calls out for remedy. Suffering or dukkha is an ill wherein the light of insight becomes clouded and overcome, in the Jungian sense, overcome by the shadow. For Berry, the Eightfold Path of Buddhism, beginning with right view, requiring monastic and monastic-inspired ethical behavior, and culminating in a release from sorrow, provides a universal paradigm for the religious quest. By understanding this system of the Eightfold Path, and by agreeing to its premises, that is, acknowledging suffering, encouragement can be given to all people, a hope that the transcendence of woe is possible. This identification of and a willingness to name the causes of suffering weigh prominently in his later work, particularly in the prophetic voice he brings to our current state of environmental disarray. The diagnosis, the dukkha, is that our planet is in trouble. The solution is to walk the path necessary for restoring equilibrium and restoring that attraction. From the Hindu Vedic tradition, two themes emerged that can similarly be seen as influential in his later work. The articulation of the correspondences between the microphase and macrophase aspects of reality, and the shift in Hindu history from elaborate, expensive, priest-driven rituals or yajnas to simpler, home-centered ceremonies or pujas, generally conducted by women. In the early Vedic literature, the Purusha Sukta proclaims an identity between the human body, the structuring of society, and the vast zones that comprise our cosmos. The feet represent the worker class. The legs correspond to the nobility of the merchants, the arms to the strength of the ruling class, and the head to the intellectual elite, the priests, the doctors, the lawyers, and the teachers. Each society needs the reciprocal contribution of each part. Further, the feet connect the individual to the earth. The chest and abdomen connect the individual to fire and air. And the eyes connect us to the sun and the moon and the heavens above. The entire cosmos is contained in the human body. A term that very often invoked, intimacy, captures the complex web of relationships spoken of in the Vedas and in the Upanishads. In his later work, the same intimacy between earth and food, and this acknowledgement that food is constitutive of the human body as we find in the Upanishads, all of this calls forth an ethical imperative. If our food, which arises from the earth, has been tainted by pollution, then our bodies and our very selves, and the selves of our children, are placed in peril. As we recover our intimacy with the earth, we are brought to our senses, and consequently, we all know that we must take corrective action. As a Roman Catholic, Thomas Berry could recognize the power of ritual as found in abundance in Hindu tradition. As a student of history, he was well acquainted with the problems that arise when concern for ritual or any form of decorum takes precedence over common sense or in any way limits or restricts human freedom. By commenting upon and celebrating the simplification of ritual, and by recognizing the freedom from constraint evident in the movement to puja and bhakti in medieval Hinduism, he understood, furthermore, the vast and immense appeal of yoga as it emerged worldwide in the 1960s and 1970s. Yoga reconnects people with a sense of intimacy. Acts of devotion described in the Bhagavad Gita can be found in every human activity. In the words of Krishna, divinity can be found in all things. For Berry, this presence of the redemptive in every activity holds great appeal. And again, this idea contributed undoubtedly to his vision of the earth as, in his words, a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. By seeing, as did Krishna, all things as noumena, not mere phenomena, the world takes on great significance, even in its simplest of moments. At Berry's urging, for my first graduate school paper when I was about 21, I took on the task of delving into simplicity as defined by Thomas Aquinas and in Shankara's commentary on the Upanishads. By seeking out that which is without parts, each thinker arrived at a place of disassembling and leaving behind the notion that the human mind can adequately make and control anything whatsoever. This radical simplicity, truly thought-emptying, brings one to a place, an intuition of the importance of authenticity and the primacy of affectivity. So many people influenced Thomas Berry. From Dostoevsky, he celebrated the grand narrative. From Nietzsche, he brought forth and spoke eloquently about that dynamic tension between the Dionysian and the Apollonian. From Jung, he probed the depth of symbol. From Thomas Aquinas, the importance of bold, clear, and careful thinking. From Dante, the drive towards self-emptying love. From Whitehead, the importance of allurement. From Teilhard, the celebration of the cosmos is expressed in rocks and fossils in the entire Earth process. From Dewey, the significance of real life in the real world. From Iliade, the translation of symbols into the concrete lived experience of the world's religions. He used his vast grasp of the pre-modern to understand the modern and point beyond each, point beyond the pre-modern and beyond the modern to our pressing problems that go beyond self-obsession and outward obsession with materialism. And neither of those will suffice anymore. Thomas Berry was a great renovator. We stand in awe of his prodigious life, of his prodigious life work, of his prodigious learning. So many varieties of belief he moved with, including probing the mysteries of science. He did this all in service of a vision that both transcends and continues to call, to ask each of us to stand up from that place of authenticity and affectivity and do, as they say in India, to do the needful. Thank you.
Anne Marie Dalton, our next speaker from St. Mary's.